Hello everyone and welcome to this explainer. Today I want to share one of the absolute most important ideas in business. A lot of companies genuinely believe that success comes straight from just selling more products, but we're going to see that in reality, high sales do not always lead to high profits.
Let's dive right into this massive misconception, because a company can generate literal millions of dollars in revenue and still struggle financially. How? Well, if they're constantly discounting products, carrying way too much unsold inventory, or spending a fortune on advertising. The real goal of a business isn't simply to increase sales. The goal is to design a business model that consistently generates profit.
So today, we're exploring how successful brands build businesses that protect both their prices and their profits. We'll cover this in 4 parts: the sales versus profit trap, the 3 pillars of profit, selling meaning, not products, and finally, the cycle of profitability.
Part 1. The sales versus profit trap.
Let's start by looking at why so many fashion brands and global companies are actually struggling behind the scenes, despite looking super successful on the outside. There are 3 major problems that actively drain profits, even when overall sales look great. First, customers have just come to expect discounts. Second, unsold inventory just keeps piling up in warehouses. And third, digital advertising costs are constantly rising. It is a completely toxic combination for profit margins. Because of those challenges, many businesses get trapped in a brutal cycle. It goes like this. Step 1, they produce more products. Step 2, they are forced to discount those products just to clear out the inventory. Step 3, they spend heavily on advertising to try and push those discounted items. And step 4, they repeat the exact same tragic process the next season. The painful results is that their sales might go up, but their profits go down. It's honestly one of the biggest mistakes a company can make.
Moving on to part 2. The 3 pillars of profit.
Now, successful premium brands, like Japan's highly respected streetwear brand Human Made, they approach this entirely differently. Instead of asking how to sell everything they make, they ask how to design a business where every single product creates maximum profit. And the secret here is mastering 3 pillars: selling at full price, controlling inventory, and earning media. Together, these basically build an impenetrable fortress around your brand's pricing.
Let's break down that first pillar. If you constantly lower your prices, your regular price completely loses its meaning. Customers figure it out, right? They just wait for the next sale. But brands like Apple, Rolex, and Lululemon protect their pricing fiercely because price communicates value. Customers trust that today's price will be tomorrow's price. And when people believe a product is always worth its listed price, they stop asking, when will it go on sale? And they start asking, can I get one before it's gone?
Which brilliantly leads us into our second pillar, controlled scarcity. This is a super powerful strategy where scarcity isn't some accident. It is a deliberate business choice designed to change customer behavior. Think about it. If demand might reach 100 units, most companies will make 120 because they're terrified of running out of stock. But high-profit brands? They might intentionally produce only 50. Why? Because when supply is limited, people make purchasing decisions way faster. The brand feels more desirable, and that excitement spreads like wildfire.
To put that into perspective, let's look at the real-world math. Say company A produces 10,000 items, sells 6,000 at full price, and discounts the rest. Sure, they earn revenue, but they sacrifice profit and basically train their customers to wait for sales. Company B, on the other hand, produces only 6,000 items. They sell all 6,000 at full price, leaving literally 0 inventory behind. Company B is in a much healthier position. Their inventory costs are lower, their cash returns faster, and their brand value actually increases. Selling everything at full price is infinitely more valuable than selling more products at a lower price.
For our third pillar, instead of paying for expensive digital ads, you create a story worth talking about. Just picture a massive line outside a store before a product launch. People walking by see that line, get super curious, and start posting photos on Instagram or TikTok. Suddenly that word of mouth is spreading organically. You are earning attention instead of buying it. And that leads to lower advertising expenses, way higher credibility, and ultimately, much stronger profits. A perfect example of this in action is the weekly product drop strategy. Instead of releasing one huge seasonal collection, you introduce new products every single week. A typical cycle looks a bit like this. On Thursday, new products are announced. By Saturday, they become available. And within days, most items are completely sold out. Then, you just repeat the whole shebang. This gives your most loyal customers 52 incredibly exciting reasons to check in with you every year. Consistency builds habits, habits build loyal customers, and loyal customers build highly profitable businesses.
Part 3. Selling meaning, not products.
Now we're getting to the absolute emotional core of this explainer. Because the world's strongest brands don't simply sell products, they sell meaning. People don't just buy the physical item you make, they are buying an identity, a culture. When you buy Nike, you're buying athletic achievement. When you buy Patagonia, you are actively supporting environmental responsibility. And with a brand like Human Made, customers are joining this incredible creative community inspired by Japanese street culture and craftsmanship. You aren't just buying clothing, you are buying a true sense of belonging.
And this concept extends right into where the products are actually sold. When you walk into a Human Made or an Apple store, you aren't just staring at shelves. You're stepping into a carefully designed feeling that creates deep, long-term loyalty. Every single detail, from the architecture to the music playing to the customer service, it all reinforces the brand's identity. These physical spaces create really memorable experiences and forge serious emotional connections. To really grasp this, imagine two plain white t-shirts. They both cost the exact same amount to manufacture. But one sells for $20 and the other sells for a premium price of $200. Now, why on earth is that? It's because customers perceive a completely different value, which is driven by reputation, storytelling, and exclusivity. The thing is, your customer never sees your manufacturing costs. They only experience the value you create, which is exactly why price is determined by value, not by cost. If you build a business that competes solely on cost, you are eventually going to enter a race to the bottom. But businesses that create immense emotional value, they compete in an entirely different market. And that right there is where long-term profitability is built. And to protect that high value, you absolutely must control where you sell. A lot of people think expanding into as many stores as possible is the goal, but that can actually create serious problems. Price competition becomes almost impossible to control, and the brand quickly loses its premium image. By focusing on owned flagship stores and your own e-commerce website, you get to control the pricing, the customer service, and the presentation. Controlling the channel ensures a completely consistent customer experience, and consistency builds the trust that supports those premium prices.
Finally, Part 4. The cycle of profitability.
Let's bring all of these strategies together into a globally scalable, repeatable loop. High-profit brands follow this exact 6-step cycle. First, they produce limited quantities. Second, they sell them at full price. Third, they rapidly convert that inventory into cash. Fourth, they reinvest those profits right back into better products and experiences. Fifth, this naturally strengthens the brand. And sixth, it generates even greater demand for the next drop. This entire cycle proves that speed creates profitability. Inventory just sitting around in a warehouse earns absolutely nothing. But inventory sold quickly at full price, that creates massive financial opportunities. So whether you're launching a startup today or managing a massive global company, implementing these core principles will help you build a business that competitors struggle to copy and investors highly value. Design your production with scarcity in mind. Build deep meaning and actually tell a story. Protect your customer experience by taking control of your channels. And finally, think globally. Brands like Apple, Nike, and Starbucks built their massive global communities by entering markets where customers genuinely appreciate their specific value and are perfectly willing to pay for it. So before we wrap up this explainer, I want you to stop asking how you can just sell more products. Instead, I want you to ask yourself this ultimate question. How can you design a business that creates lasting profit? Because at the end of the day, the absolute strongest companies out there don't simply generate revenue. They create value. And when you consistently create value, well, the profit naturally follows. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I hope this completely changes how you view your own business model.